Star Wars 7x7, episode 2025. Well, now that we finished dealing with those rumors about the Kenobi series and Taika Waititi, for now at least, let's talk about Star Wars Resistance. We'll get back to our Resistance briefings with a look at the new world. This is episode 15 from season 2 of Star Wars Resistance. Punch it! Hey Rebel Rouser, I'm Alan Voivod and this is Star Wars 7x7. Thank you so much for joining me for this episode. So, here we go. We're talking about the episode that is the first of a two-part story arc, and both of these episodes actually premiered on January 12th, both of them being No Place Safe. That's the second half of this two-part story arc. And this is a full spoiler episode where we're going to talk about A New World, and if you haven't seen it yet, or by now, well, this is your fair warning. The general gist is that after their latest escape from the First Order, the Colossus arrives at Aeos Prime, and also after dealing with the pirates and whatnot. So they go to check out this world that is somewhere on the edge of the Outer Rim, and it looks like, for the most part, it's unpopulated. It's an oceany, oasis-y planet, probably not unlike Castellan, although, quite honestly, I don't really remember a lot of solid surface on Castellan. Like, I don't remember there being, a lot of places where they could, have landfall and whatnot. But Aeos Prime, not the case. And in fact, when they send out scouting parties to look around, they turn up an old rebellion outpost. So this is yet another one of the little hidey holes that the rebellion stashed all across the galaxy during those dark times, the times of the Empire. But apparently the First Order knew about it, because even though they aren't there anymore, there's evidence that the First Order had been there. They find a helmet, which is a little bit scary in a way, but, First Order stormtroopers don't leave behind helmets, so that makes you imagine that whatever happened couldn't have been good for the First Order. And they did apparently find this old rebellion outpost because they trashed a bunch of the rebellion stuff there too. This, of course, begs the question, will the First Order come back at some point? Well, they don't during this episode, but the Aeosians see, well, this is one of those situations where I can't imagine that they planned this far in advance, but at some point somebody had to have the realization of, hey, did you realize? And somebody else smacked their heads and went, yes, of course, it's perfect, because Griff Halloran, who is one of the aces, is a former TIE fighter pilot and still uses that helmet. So when he and Kaz get captured by the Aeosians, there's a bit of mistaken identity situation, because Kaz is saying, no, we're helpful, we're friendly, and they hold up Griff Halloran's helmet, which is an old TIE fighter pilot helmet, which looks a lot like a First Order helmet, especially to the Aeosians, and it's like, oops, oh well. So good on the writers or the designers, creators, whoever it was that happened to catch that detail and think, we could work a story out of this. Well done. And I have to say, I liked the escape plan that Kaz had, which was a so crazy it might work escape plan, which wasn't even really an escape plan. Once he found out that there were Aeosians hurting from their encounter with the First Order, he was like, hey, we've got supplies, we can heal them. And his big jailbreak moment was to run back to the Aeosian, I guess you would call it medical bay. It wasn't really a medical bay. It was just sort of a room for injured people to hang out and lay around. He went and helped try to heal a couple of them and say, hey, we can do more. So, interesting plan to be sure, and obviously it worked out because the Aeosians decide that they're going to let the Colossus stay. The Aeosian Queen, who is voiced by none other than Lucy Lawless of Xena Warrior Princess fame, among other things, says, hey, there were people like you who used to be here and they were honorable and helpful, and so we're going to help you out because you seem like honorable and helpful people like those other guys were. And so all's well that ends well, or at least that's what it seems like so far. But Kaz is a little concerned because if the First Order was here already, well, then they could certainly be back. And we find out the answer to that very quickly because, as I said, there were 2 episodes aired on the same night in January, on January 12th. And No Place Safe reveals that, yeah, that's going to happen, but we're going to talk about that in a separate episode of the show, so that way No Place Safe gets its own coverage for the podcast. But there is one bit of information about upcoming episodes that I did find out, and so I'm going to share that with you after the break. Stay tuned. Hey Rebel Rouser, I've made some changes to the asteroid belt level at patreon.com/SW7X7, and they are all with sponsors in mind. So if you want to get the word out about your business, your product, your service to a dedicated Star Wars audience, then please check out patreon.com/SW7X7 and look for the asteroid belt level for details. Again, that's patreon.com/SW7X7. Welcome back. So as I was looking for information about upcoming episodes of Star Wars Resistance, what I discovered is that, and we talked about this on a previous episode, just that there wasn't necessarily information on how long the season was going to be going or anything like that. Well, according to Wikipedia, the episodes that are appearing on January 26th, which will be episodes 18 and 19, they're doing another double episode situation that night. Those will be the final episodes of Season 2 of Star Wars Resistance and also the series finale for Star Wars Resistance as well. I do feel like, oh gosh, this ran its course way too fast. It really felt like they were, I mean, they had a decent first season. Like, you know, I'm not saying anything negative about that. I am saying that you built a strong foundation to the point where I really feel like Season 2, they have kind of hit a stride and we're doing some really fun stuff. And it just feels a shame that it's already coming to an end. So hopefully the stories of Kaz and Yeager and Tam and Tora and the rest of the gang on the Colossus, hopefully they will continue in some other fashion. But for now, their story is coming to an end and very shortly. So what a bummer. But that is what I wanted to share with you about that. So yes, there will be additional coverage of the Resistance episodes coming up. And then, you know, once it's over, well, then we'll talk about how everything went once it was all over. But for now, that's going to do it for our coverage of New World, which is episode 15 from Season 2 of Star Wars Resistance. And that's going to do it for this episode of the show as well. Thank you so much for joining me for it, as always, and may the Force be with you, wherever in the world you may be.
Star Wars 7x7 is not endorsed or sponsored yet by Lucasfilm Limited, Disney, or 20th Century Fox, and is intended for entertainment and information purposes only. Star Wars, the Star Wars logo, all names and pictures of Star Wars characters, vehicles, and any other Star Wars-related items are registered trademarks and/or copyrights of Lucasfilm Limited or their respective trademark and copyright holders. May the Force be with them. All original content is copyright 2020 by Star Wars 7x7. We hope you love it.